Happy January 14th. JLD here, and welcome to MicroStrategy Today. In this show, we'll be talking about Michael Saylor with another Bitcoin buy as we go over Tracker Tuesday, MSTY versus MSTR. What's a better hold? We go over the MSTR fair model and ballistic model. We also talk about SOB 21 being repealed day one. And I have an amazing video clip from Michael Saylor as he goes over the three catalysts needed to get Bitcoin to $5 million per coin. And guess what? We've already had two of them hit. The third one is coming up in just a few days, likely, and so much more. And remember, this video is opinions only. It is my opinions only. It is not financial advice. Comment below right now where you're watching from. We love that data. Thank you for doing that. And let's dive on in to Tracker Tuesday. Let me share this tab and do a little refresh here so we get some confetti, because confetti happens when Michael Saylor buys Bitcoin, which he has now done for 10 weeks in a row. 10 weeks in a row. Look at that confetti coming down. Life is good, my friends. As you can see, the stock price is at $328. Bitcoin's up quite a bit right now. We'll see where it opens, but this number could be going up today. We have a ranking of 121 out of 500 right now in the S&P 500, and a daily traded volume ranking of number 8 out of 499. This is a very key metric that MicroStrategy is ranked 121 out of 500 as far as total market cap, but number 8 when it comes to volume traded. Many times it's number 3 and number 4 on the busy days, which is just insane, which is just showing you how early we are to MicroStrategy. I do want to point something out to you. Radu put this red button here, this watch tutorial, and I'm honored to say it is the 1 hour and 20-minute interview that I did with Radu that went over every single step of this tracker. This is what this tutorial is. So you click this, it takes you to the video that I did with Radu. Super cool. Very honored for that to happen. So thank you, Radu, for this great tracker and for putting this tutorial here. You can check it out at your leisure if you haven't already. It's on my YouTube channel or right here on the MSTR-tracker site. So Bitcoin price, like I mentioned, is a little up. It dipped like, I think it even hit like the high 80s yesterday, like 89.9 or something. Now it's up to 96.59. It actually touched 97 earlier this morning, so we'll see where it opens. The Bitcoin balance, Michael Saylor just has a flair for numbers. 450,000 even. What a great number. I think he's going to get to 500K even at some point pretty shortly here, just because he likes those really round numbers. Or maybe he'll just blast all the way through to 600 or 750. We'll see. Time will tell. So the ownership of the 21 million Bitcoin is 2.14%. Corporate holdings is number 1 of 70. Of course, it's going to stay that way forever. The Bitcoin value per basic share is 176. Diluted is 153. And if you watch that interview I did with Radu, he said it's the diluted share that we should really be focusing on. This is the number that matters the most, because this is a more realistic dollar amount and percentage when you go above. So we totally have MSTR share costs and Satoshis at 347,452. Again, this number is going to keep going up all year as MicroStrategy focuses on their KPI, which is that Bitcoin yields. So right now, the diluted NAV premium against diluted is 2.134. Again, this is where we should be focused on, these diluted numbers. This is where we're going to be focusing on for the remainder of every Tuesday in 2025, where we go over the tracker in depth just on Tuesdays. The unrealized profit loss is 15 billion for a 54% return. And as you can see, the Bitcoin yield year to date is 0.32%. That number is just going to keep going up as we roll into some of the more fixed issuances that are coming up here in 2025, probably in January and beyond. So life is good with the tracker. We'll check in next Tuesday. Let's move into today's news story, which is MicroStrategy buys 2,530 Bitcoin for $243 million, bringing its total holdings to over 450,000 Bitcoin. But I think the actual number is exactly 450,000 Bitcoin, which the tracker shared on the previous slide. Wanted to share this tweet from Michael Saylor. MicroStrategy has acquired 2,530 Bitcoin for $243 million at $95,972 per Bitcoin and has achieved a Bitcoin yield of 0.32% year to date in 2025. As of 1/2/2025, we hodl 450,000 Bitcoin acquired for $28.2 billion at 62,691 per Bitcoin. Let's go MSTR. And that let's go was me. I wanted to share this tweet from Ben Workman. Bitcoin per share metrics of Q1 2025. And you can see this chart here. You can kind of follow along as I'm going through this tweet. The trend of consistent Bitcoin accumulation continues in 2025. Even with a short sample period so far in 2025, MSTR has increased their core KPI. That's the key performance indicator. That is the metrics that they care about most by 0.32%. And it already requires 2 less shares to have an allocation to the value of 1 Bitcoin. Immediate improvement in the fixed income offerings haven't even started rolling out yet. The BTC/fully diluted share is up 0.32 quarter to date. And the outstanding shares is plus 0.28% quarter to date. Lots to look forward to this year. We had a huge improvement in all metrics in 2024. Looking forward to seeing what MSTR team has up their sleeves for 2025. And me too. Because as Chris says so clearly, if you can't handle MSTR at $300 per share, you don't deserve it at $3,000 per share and $30,000 per share. And if you believe, like Chris and I believe, that it is going to both of those numbers, you deserve it. You're watching this video. You're consuming the right content. Keep it going. All right, let's move over to BitStrategy says, when you own Bitcoin, you only profit from Bitcoin going up in price. When you own MicroStrategy, you profit from Bitcoin going up and down in price. This harkens back to the volatility that we talked about many times. I'm creating a great video around this so that we can all understand a little bit better, myself included, about why volatility is amazing for MicroStrategy. Why, when the stock price goes down in response to Bitcoin going down, that's actually a good thing for MicroStrategy because of the options, because of the convertible bonds becoming even more appealing for reasons we'll get into in more detail. But that to me is an exciting thing. Like when you wake up in the morning and you own Bitcoin, which I do, your portfolio is up if Bitcoin's up and it's down if it's down. You're only really benefiting if Bitcoin is going up. With MicroStrategy, you're not benefiting in that moment, dollars and cents wise, in your portfolio if MSTR is down, but you are benefiting long term because it's that volatility, which is the vitality of the stock. That volatility is the fire that makes MSTR the most attractive option in all the things and ways that we're going forward with right now when it comes to MicroStrategy. So let's keep moving forward into this tab right here, which is so cool. This is a tweet by Pat V right here. And he did MSTR versus MSTY because there's a lot of questions. I see a lot of tweets about people saying MSTY has been the best investment. I get a dividend and I get to participate in most of the upside of MSTR. And so you see those things, you're like, should I invest in MSTY as well? And by the way, I did a whole video in my Master MicroStrategy series, which you can find on my YouTube channel, which is MSTR versus MSTX versus MSTU versus MSTY, where I go into the pros and cons of all of those investments. And there are pros and cons to all of them. There truly are. But here's just numbers on a piece of paper. This person invested $203,800 into MSTY. And at the same time, he invested $203,800 into MSTR. I'm not going to go through all the details here. I will have this tweet in the show notes that you can look at in detail if you want to see how this plays out. But the final numbers are what matters here. Is the total gain for his first investment, the MSTY, was $660,658, which is fantastic. That's a 324% gain. Amazing. But his investment of just buying and holding MSTR, doing nothing except just buying and then holding, was $808,672, so 397% up. So what that says to me is, in this scenario, it's obviously much more beneficial to just buy and hold MSTR, just to sit back and let Michael Saylor cook, let MicroStrategy cook. And then somebody even commented below, now include the taxes for MSTY. The only relevant metric is after tax total return. And that's a good point, because you're going to, depending on where you live, you're going to have to be paying tax on a lot of this return as you're getting these dividends paid out. You're paying sometimes ordinary income tax on that, which is going to further diminish it, while you're not paying any tax on MSTR at all while you hold until you finally sell. And if you're doing this in a Roth IRA, then you're not paying tax at all, even when you do sell. So something to think about, some food for thought. There's definitely going to be some scenarios where MSTY could be shown to outperform MSTR in a similar time frame. I mean, there's just going to be situations that that could be a possibility. So that's why do your own research, make your own decisions. I buy and hold and continue to DCA every single day into MSTR myself, and I'll be showing you my latest DCA at the end of this video. Let's talk about MicroStrategists with the MSTR model updates. The current price of MSTR is $330. The Ballistic model is showing that it should be at $354. The fair model is actually showing that it should be at $431. The low point, the fifth percentile, is 264, where the high point is 630. For better or for worse, MSTR is intimately tied to Bitcoin. The next few weeks are hard to predict, but the model suggests we're still undervalued. So this is a great post, MicroStrategist.com. This is a great website if you want to check it out. I've used his stuff for a lot of this content here. He has some great models, some great plug and plays where you can put in your investment, your time horizon. So definitely cool to check that out. Wanted to share this. Matt shares that SOB 121 repealed day one without going through Congress again. This clears the way for bigger things to happen much faster, higher. And then this is on a post from Geiger Capital that says, Sachs and members of the Trump transition team have been working closely with crypto leaders to finalize legislative strategy, and Trump is expected to issue executive orders on the first day of his presidency that may address issues including debanking and the repeal of a controversial crypto accounting policy requiring banks holding digital assets to count them as liabilities on the bank's own balance sheets, according to a person involved with the conversations. The Trump team has made it very clear that this is a priority, the person added. So, long story short, Michael Saylor, long ago, and I have a video I'm about to share with you that's going to show this, said there are 3 catalysts to getting Bitcoin to $5 million per coin. 2 of those catalysts have already happened. This one is the 3rd catalyst that is going to happen in 2025. But what Matt's saying here, which is pretty exciting, instead of having to wait for it to go through Congress again, which it will, and that'd be fine, it would just be slower, it may just happen day one. So just in a handful of days here on January 20th, which would be even better, which would be awesome. So just wanted to share that as the 3rd catalyst of Michael Saylor's 3 catalysts to 5 million Bitcoin is about to be hit. This is just a great tweet that I wanted to share. Been getting a lot of love because I think this is just a very cool journey to see that people have been going on. This is from Karen Rye. My journey to Bitcoin. I'm 47. Outside of my unrealized carry in our portfolio companies, nearly 90% of my liquid net worth is in Bitcoin. Okay, maybe 80% Bitcoin and 10% MSTR. I used to be the poster child for TradFi, traditional finance, Ivy League MBA, and trained in Keynesian economics, worked in investment banking at JP Morgan, and witnessed the 2008 collapse and effects of money printing firsthand. For the last 7 years, I've run a lower mid-market PE shop, and the effects of the monetary policy during the pandemic and the near 600 basis point rate increase in the span of 9 months, and the cash impact of that on our levered portfolio companies, yes, a few of them failed, was another moment of realization that the system I was trained in just doesn't work. Finally, I decided to humble myself and put in over 300 hours and relearn everything I knew about economics and hard money, even though it conflicted with everything I learned in my successful 16 years career on Wall Street and private equity. The result of the inquiry came to a clear realization that Bitcoin is a once in a 1,000 year phenomenon and is the hardest money ever created. And even in my best years as an investor, I can't beat Bitcoin's 4-year average returns. That was humbling. And they say that if you can't beat them, join them. I have been fully converted to a Bitcoin maxi. To all to all those still questioning the technology, the idea, the phenomenon that is Bitcoin, do the work and form an opinion on Bitcoin. I believe this is the single most important thing you can do for your families and your generations to come. Spread Bitcoin with love. So I just thought that was a great tweet and something that a lot of individuals in my generation in their 40s right now are coming to that conclusion. And luckily for us, for you watching, it's just not too late. And in fact, we are so early on this. It's so exciting. And here comes Michael Saylor's 3 catalysts to get Bitcoin to 5 million.
Look, first of all, it's going up by a factor of 10, whether they fix any of the stuff, right? It's going to go it's going to be a grind up by a factor of 10 just because gold is broken and Bitcoin's going to replace gold. And now everybody in the universe knows they need a non-sovereign store of value in the form of a bearer instrument. So now they're looking, the amount of stories for last year, people said inflation may be coming. We're not sure. Now the mainstream narrative is flipped to inflation is here. You need an inflation hedge. So it's going to grind up to replace gold. It'll go to $500,000 a coin, regardless of whether they fix these things. But there are 3 things that are massive catalysts that cause an acceleration. And I don't think that those 3 things don't take us to 500,000. They take us to 5 million a coin, right? Those 3 things are a spot ETF where someone can go ahead and buy $100 million of Bitcoin, buy a security, an ETF security. I think that's 1. 2 is your bank is going to custody it for you and lend against it. And 3 is I can mark it up or mark it down on my balance sheet based on fair value. Pari passu. It'll be pari passu to the way I'd handle Apple stock, or at least that good. If you have property with fair value accounting, by the way, it becomes pari passu to the way you'd handle treasury bonds on a treasury balance sheet. Treasuries are better than stocks because treasury is property, whereas a stock is a security, and you're capped out at 40% of your balance sheet as security. So it would be a major, major breakthrough if you saw any of those 3 things. And I'll end with this one observation. I tweeted this last week, but I think it's very powerful. It's if the banks can hold this stuff on their balance sheet, then a whole new class of investors are going to buy it. People are going to put in billion and multi-billion-dollar orders to buy it as a treasury asset. Nobody's going to sell it because there's no reason to sell it if you can borrow against it at LIBOR plus or SOFR plus 50 basis points, right? So you'll be borrowing against Bitcoin at SOFR plus 50 or SOFR plus 100 basis points. No one's ever going to sell it. And then, as I joked, you won't be able to afford it. I mean, you will be able to afford it, but everybody gets Bitcoin at the price they deserve. When the banks normalize it, and you can draw a $100 million credit line at 100 basis points from an FDIC insured bank, at that point, right, we're going to blow through the market cap of gold by a factor of 10.
Right.
So I think the best thing is those 3 things are highly likely to happen. I don't know if they happen in 36 months or 24 months or 12 months, but I would be shocked if it's more than 36 months. And I hope, guys, it doesn't happen in 12 months, because my view is the longer it takes, the more progressive the grind, the more time I have to buy more of it.
And there you have it. Another episode of MicroStrategy Today in the books. If you got value from this episode and you're still watching right now, please comment below where you're watching from. I read every comment and they're so meaningful. Here is my DCA from yesterday. I jumped in at $318 for 200. I spent $210 to do it for a quantity of 0.661 shares of MSTR. I'll be updating my DCA portfolio every single Saturday, so stay tuned for that. But this is my daily accountability to you, my viewers. Remember, this video is my opinions only. It's not financial advice. And as Michael Saylor said, there is no second best.